Hi everyone, this is Kishor again, welcoming you to the Baseline Show in India. We do this every Saturday, 6 p.m. This is official office hours of Baseline Protocol. It's a community rapidly being built in India and abroad. Uh, okay, I was hearing myself on YouTube on another browser. Can somebody monitor the voice on YouTube if that's okay? So yeah, coming back to the introduction. So I was saying that we do this every Saturday at 6 p.m. This is for developers and community members to come together and ask questions, learn from the experts, and also exchange ideas around adoption of baseline. Today we have a very special guest who's building RealX.in. It's a platform for fractional ownership of real estate. Along with him, we have our baseliners, fellow baseliners, Mark and Anushri. Hi, Anushri. Hi, Mark. Thanks for making it to today's show. So, for people who are watching us on YouTube, and for people who may be watching us in future, uh, we have a lot of announcements today about the baseline protocol as well. As you all know, I will start with go to our website. There's a lot of effort which goes into putting up this website. There's also now a get involved section which has got all the links to our wherever we are found. So we are on Slack, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube, and we also have we have a very vibrant community on Slack. People are getting responses within 15 minutes. So do go there and sign up. Find all you will find all of us on Slack. What is important is voting for the TSC. Now, I'm one of the candidates who's up for election. So I can just say that there is the technical steering committee elections going on. Whoever is eligible, please do vote. The power to be eligible, in fact, Mark is also there, right? So now you cannot have new eligibility. That window has already closed, so now no new people can come and become eligible voters. The mails have gone out, but it's just my reminder to people who have not yet voted to go ahead and vote. Um, for the technical steering committee of baseline protocol, it's extremely important. This is the committee which holds together the vision of the protocol and takes it forward in the next year. Where adoption is really key. Now we are ready with all the ammunition. We do this show every week. This is for increasing awareness about various areas where blockchain has found adoption, where baseline can potentially come in and play a role. And to that end, we have Manish with us. Manish, I would like to invite you and talk a little about your journey, your background of how you conceptualize RealX. What have you been doing so far in your professional life and personal life? And then I would also invite you to give your views around blockchain in general. What's happening with blockchain and all of us, all the rest of us, we have touched blockchain in some capacity. So I would like to know your experience also with that. Uh, you can start with the Indian context and also talk a little about the global context. Yeah, Manish, over to you.
Thank you, Samrat. And I will take time after the session to log in and go through the candidate. I find you worthy. Maybe I'll have you voting for you. So, having said that, hello everyone. This is Manish. I am co-founder and CEO of which is a blockchain-powered fractional ownership platform for real. Say this, it looks very heavily loaded. Blockchain powered ownership platform for real estate. There are two worlds in this, I guess. One of the worlds is fractional ownership. In general, and we have a lot of competition there. And the other world is which is go about what blockchain can bring in, and that world doesn't believe in anything real. You know, if I may say so. So pun intended. So these two worlds, our attempt has been to bring together these two worlds. Blockchain was the savior for our model because had blockchain not been there, we would have had a difficult time creating a legitimate ledger of co-owners on on in any other way. So I think it was not blockchain second was it was blockchain second, but it's a critical cog in the overall picture that we are trying to paint here. What are we trying to do essentially is in simple terms, I can say equitizing property. So what do we mean by that? So we think that we all can come together, become owners with small investments into a large property, and and ownerships can be recorded on that can become the digital registry of record for every owner, and all the other things emanate from the ownership rights, your voting, your uh, even liens, etc., can be marked on such a system. Now, this was a brief. This was not a proper intro, but I think I'm in a blockchain forum, so I spoke more about blockchain probably the first time ever uh, about RealX. Now, you asked me a question about where all this did come from. Let me try and answer that. So I'm as much a middle class guy as probably you are, Samrat. So it was the idea of something like this really came from not being able to participate into many kinds of assets uh, when we saw them as very high value assets, but nobody offered us ownership in them. So uh, to tell you very simply, the very fact that when I used to visit malls, etc., malls are very prized possessions of developers, they say basically. So that is when I was one of the fascinating thoughts was why this is running very well. Why am I not given ever an opportunity to be part of something like this? It was never on the block, and I could never afford it. So, so why are we excluded from something like that? So why are we excluded from? So when you go to a toll booth, which is and you spend 3 minutes there, what do you think in 3 minutes? My thought is this is bloody so busy. I could have invested. I could have been part of this, but I never could invest because nobody gave me the option to invest. There are many such assets where this thing played out. All of them have a real estate play, and except for the mainstream, you can buy one house and buy another house with a lot of loan on your head, which you really didn't want, and EMIs. That is what plain vanilla served. Today this is not how it should be. How if I can buy two shares of a company, I why can I not buy a certain piece of asset A, asset B, asset C? And when I talk about that, I mean today the cinema halls are not working, so that may not be an example. But in my imagination, that time it was an example that this cinema hall runs very well. Why can't I have a piece of that? A piece of all the earnings from that? I could have invested.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, so that's when this whole thing germinated. Rest is just the process of how do you find laws and technology and everything you mesh to something which gives it a legitimate right of co-ownership, and such rights can be passed on and recorded, and blah blah blah. I hope I answered your
awesome.
question.
No, no, absolutely, Manish. And what you touched upon very simply, it's very easier said than done. You said regulations and technologies intermeshed to create this product. I think that would have been the biggest hurdle for you, right? To jump over the existing laws and regulations, and where does it even sit today?
Yeah, so one of the leading, so in the real estate industry, they're not who have a good name. So,
Yeah.
so let me, uh, so you, Mr. Hirani, so I thought I'll
Mm.
speak out. So we
Yeah.
had reached out to him on his thoughts very early on. We got an opportunity to speak to him quite honestly. And one of the things that
Okay.
he said was, uh, in something like this as a platform, as against other option being reached, uh, it is only legal and legal. So if you solve the legal doing it, I think according to him, almost everything else can be done. So we took around 2.5 years to create a construct which is through seven legal document legal stack. Like you have India stack, we have a Realix that makes it happen. So
I see.
essentially, what we do is, there's a user coming onto the platform, and then you have something like a terms of use, or what we call buyer agreement. From that point to a
Hmm.
registered deed, and to their terms being recorded and things like that. So there are seven such legal documents that make all this happen. And various entities fall in place to what we rationalize the whole services of owning and operating real estate.
Hmm. Right. 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 You also want to go a little deeper on, what are the service offerings of RealX, and then we can probably add more value there. What are the actors, on the platform? What are they doing? What's the value they get out of it?
Okay, so good one. So we are commercially structured marketplace. So what we don't do is we don't take mandated sales. So we wouldn't be selling something to our investors. The investor is essentially my first customer. So we stand to serve the investor and not the other way around. So that's one, and that changes a lot of things how you do things. Although there may be very many players in the market, but who your first customer changes a lot of things. So we are a
Hmm.
marketplace where both parties can are free to join in. So developers also are free to post their onto the platform for sale. There is
Okay.
a standard information set that they need to furnish. Most often than not, they are not able to furnish it away, given the level of information asymmetry and etc. that exists in the market itself. It takes us a lot of time to get that corrected from the sourcing side. And once we validate all that, for information correctness, completeness, and cohesiveness of information, that's when we allow. Uh, I mean, not it goes live. We do curate, but we that's when by and large a good property will go live. And that's when investors are able to log in. The investor login is pretty straightforward. They have to just agree to our standard buyer agreement. Uh, but investors can, properties, they can look at the deals that are there. They can decide to commit certain investment in one of the deals. At that point, they only need to first point. They only need to pay 1% of the commitment, and once the property is fully subscribed, that is when it goes to stage 2, which is when it goes off air, and the execution of the process begins, where first step is in the due diligence is carried out. The due diligence being positive, we send the report to the investor and ask them for the furnishing the rest of the amount. That's when once that is done, it goes for a registration at the registrar's office. All the name co-owners are recorded there, as and once based on that record, we then credit the information for the first, in the token world called token generating event. you know uh, so that is when we credit all that information first time for this property and create that genesis node, block of all the co-owners. Post this, you can now, if you log into the platform and you want to buy on secondary, and somebody is selling you, that the
Yeah.
seller is a genuine seller because it's fetched from the blockchain. So there is no requirement for small purchases to have their own due diligence.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
when blockchain
Okay.
kicks in, basically.
That is where it kicks in. Yeah. So of course it acts as a registry, and if I may compare, Manish, can we call this a Kickstarter of property? Can we call this like that? Because as you said, the campaigns go live, and when it is completely subscribed, then it goes to us to our next stage. So
Yeah, yeah.
can we compare this to Kickstarter? Okay,
Sure,
okay.
sure, sure. I think essentially, all of us democratize access to such properties, and I think we did that for both the parties. So
Hmm.
we are doing that for developers as much as we are for the investors. Both of them have a new channel to interact. Both of them, the developers also have a brand to keep now. Because if you do not do well, you're basically choking your future financing. So there is a
Yeah,
bigger reputation risk now, and
yeah.
I think this creates what I keep talking is a participative wealth economy
Hmm.
from both sides.
That's a very interesting notion. Yeah, participative
So,
wealth economy.
so that's
Interesting.
participative wealth is one of the hashtags that I very frequently use in all my posts.
Awesome, awesome. No, we going to be. I'm going to be taking it back now. So participative wealth, and I think when the question of participative wealth comes, or when the question of having multiple actors in the whole model comes, that is where the need for trust arises. So that is where people need to know details, and as you said, that every project is taken through due diligence. Who is the party doing due diligence? Do you hire them, or the buyers hire them? Who's the party?
So
Who
so
are the
see,
interested parties?
that's the interesting part. So due diligence cannot be done by uh, essentially any law firm. So we appoint impaneled law firms to do that. For us, we are in that aspect we are not too different from, let's say, a bank, which
Hmm.
also has law firms impaneled all the country, and if they depute a law firm to carry on the task, and the fees, etc., and the reports, etc., is kind of standardized. So the
Hmm.
process for us in this case, since the law firm is not going to be a beneficiary party in this, and they also have a big brand name because there is a report going from their name. It
Yeah.
is not just the brand name; they may themselves be liable to suits. So
Yeah.
and you have to understand that such platforms have immense power, in the sense that you're not, if you wrong someone, you're not wronging one person. It's not private
Yeah.
anymore. So the power of public lies in the very fact that there is public there. And I
Yeah.
don't really imagine any situation in whatever overconfidence you talk about that anybody would want to intentionally do something wrong there. However, said that this is carried out by professional law firms. We can appoint any of the impaneled ones to do that. We don't really see much of a challenge in that, and because it has to be fact based, you have to give reasons to what happened.
Yeah.
It's not a yes or no that kind of gives. They give an opinion, and in any due diligence report, there would be nothing that will say completely yes or completely no, because it is real
I
estate
see.
and it's a very difficult subject to do. So essentially, it will be yes or large, or by and large no. So there may be some very 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 strong no-go areas, and that means the due diligence failed. By and large, otherwise, it will say that some document is not present, but the
Hmm.
others are there, and therefore it is with one more affidavit, it may be suffice, something like that. So they will have a workaround or something like that. So that is how it
I
happens.
see.
Public doesn't have to do that. We get the due diligence done. Public then has still to take a call that they may further invest or not based on the due
I
diligence.
see.
So
Okay.
so they have a choice.
Yeah. Why I asked that question, because real estate in general, you started with this notion, but it sort of seems like a distant thing. It's to the common man, and particularly in India, where we know that half of the processes still operate on paper. So can you little bit can you talk about what were the challenges on with the various stakeholders in real estate in general, and what processes are already digitized and what are not? Can you tell us a little more
What
about that?
were Samrat, we are very nascent in the game, and there is no war. We are what are the challenges? We are still. Somebody asked me, I think a couple of days back, that have you in
Hmm.
one of the customer sessions that we do also on Saturdays,
Yeah.
that have you how many deals have you sold? I said, I said we launched Ganesh Chaturthi 10th of September, about a month back,
Yeah.
and we ourselves are not in of selling at the moment. All that we are interested is people getting to believe in this and our product first. We are not in any mode. We didn't tell any of our developers that we will instantly start selling. We won't,
Yeah.
because people understand this. Once So the biggest challenge first is to make the customer understand. To give you a very interesting anecdote, so we one of the properties that we early on were evangelizing was a industrial shed, which had a global MNC as a tenant. And uh, and industrial sheds as a asset class are always built to suit. They are never built up and then given. They're always
Okay.
built to suit to the customer's needs.
Okay.
That is how the industrial shed works. I mean, you may think of it as reconstruction, but that is how it works. The leases, etc., are long term leases. And if you don't have long term leases, you don't get excise benefit. So it's a very nuanced thing, which when we brought in, and it was a very good deal, very stable client, etc., etc., there were a lot of good things, but we had a hard time explaining to our customers what is an industrial shed. They only understand
Yeah.
apartments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't even.
Okay.
So when you said what were the challenges, we have not even begun with the challenges. So if I can,
Yeah.
so we have been so deprived of the asset, okay, that we don't understand. If somebody gives you a good asset, we don't have the to appreciate it. So our challenge is educating on real estate. Our challenge is
Right.
educating to real estate information in the right place, and then comes
Right.
misinformation. Now I'll give you the funny piece. Some of my competitors, they spread out in the market that they are doing something on blockchain and they are illegal. Now talk about government.
Okay.
So the blockchain is not allowed by government, so they are illegal.
Okay.
So talk
Okay.
about challenge. You see a huge lot. I was talking to one of the media houses, and one of the grouses I said was, "Look, we think we did a fabulous job by bringing it the
Yeah.
whole threshold down to 5 lakh level, which is very affordable for many. I know it is
Yeah.
still a significant amount. It's not a small amount, but it is affordable nonetheless.
Yeah.
And then why are people not flocking to all the crypto exchanges, etc., etc.?
With the same,
The
probably the
answer,
same amount of money.
maybe, huh? Yeah. So
Yeah.
my question was, they don't understand the product there, and they asked me
Yeah.
50,000 questions on my product here. No, so they
Because
don't
they
ask any
somewhat
question.
understand this product.
So the answer was very fabulous, and probably I would like to quote that answer there. The
Sure.
answer that he gave was, "Ki money, good product, something that you are building, but it will take time. Cryptos took time.
Mm.
They didn't happen today. They belong back. And there is a lot of evangelism that has happened in that area, and
Mm.
everywhere you go, there is crypto. So how do you stay away from that? So that's why the enthusiasm has come in now. It was not there back.
Yeah.
Many of these exchanges didn't, were probably, ideas 2 years back. So, and that was probably a good representation of how much this takes to develop. There are multiple sides to all this that we are talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Uh,
True.
the
True.
day somebody starts receiving the rents on time is when people will believe this is real.
Yeah. True that. True that. So Mark, today you are getting India 101, India real estate 101 on what's
Yeah,
going
I
on
know
here, right?
he's having a good time.
Yeah, Anushri somewhat may know, although Anushri is sort of settled in Malaysia, so she may tell us about Malaysia real estate more.
Yeah, but
Um,
still, I'm very well connected to India and I have
yeah,
properties in India. But uh, I, on a very separate note, really, Manish, I found your idea, this whole setup of RealX, very interesting. In fact, like just few days ago, I was just me and my husband, we were just looking out to invest somewhere in some property, which is something like you said, mall, some shop,
Mm.
because apartments no longer is a charm in India, because
Yeah,
if you see the prices in Delhi and all those things are not really gaining any much of a benefit. People are buying house here and moving outside of India, so the
yeah,
prices are not really appreciating. So something like a co-investment in a certain property, that is what we actually were looking. And it's like all of us, it's probably a coincidence that I heard you here, and just while you were describing, I was going through your website. It's quite cool concept.
yeah,
So yeah, I really appreciate this idea, the entire
yeah.
idea. I just wonder on a very separate note, because I know in India the when you start selling or buying a property, the first thing that comes is the negotiation. How do you deal negotiation over this technical
Haggling,
platform?
haggling, haggling. Negotiation
Haggling.
is a negotiation
Yeah,
is a glorified word for it.
how do you deal with that over this like well defined technical blockchain environment?
Yeah. So to be honest, I don't get to talk about blockchain much. This is one such forum
Yeah, yeah.
where I
That's
do.
his. Yeah, that's his secret.
Yeah, in the
Absolutely.
whole
Yeah,
of
we
my
can take that
slide.
offline.
No, no. So I'll talk about that. I'm very happy today. Today somebody is asking us questions around it and why we implemented etc. In all the discussion we have, it is all about which property, where do you bring, how do you commercially open. All the discussions are more on legal, and then our commercial, and it rarely touches it. In fact, in my customer sessions also, we have one point in the whole deck. There's one point on blockchain. Saying what are the advantages of blockchain based registry. That's
Yeah,
just one
yeah,
point out of five. But then coming back, I think your question was not really, if I understand it right, it was not really only about blockchain. It was about how do you negotiate the prices, in favor of customers.
Yeah,
So we act as a platform for our customers. We exist for our customers. So how do you do that? I will give you example. So one of the deals that we have brought in is from one of the top developers in the country. So I
okay.
wouldn't name here now. So you can understand my
Yeah,
restrictions.
we have few
But
guesses.
yeah, if there are not too many deals, so you can figure out. So to negotiate with them, we took many months to bring the price to a point where we get an effective discount on their last sale price of up to 18%. Now, 18% discount is not easy, but if as a customer you go and talk, you probably not get it. But if as a when we go as a partner to them as well, when we talk, the logic is this, that this is 100% funded, property. Once we buy, you would be developing from our this thing. So at least the standing rate at which the bank rate, of interest must be paid back to us, because the property is not earning. I mean, I told you in a very nice language, but it doesn't go like that. So, exactly. So but yeah, Samrat, deal with at least larger corporates. It's not exactly like haggling as well. If you have to
yeah,
kind of structure your arguments very well, where you
yeah,
have to kind of convince. So property market is now divided today in two halves. One is very organized players, and they will
yeah.
be winning and acquiring more of these smaller guys. We will only have very organized players largely running the market. They have
Right,
corporate finance, they understand finance, they understand cost of capital, they understand cost and
right,
asset, and it is on
right.
those terms that we talk. Something that as a
Mm.
retail investor probably won't get the attention, or the sales probably is given a sales mandate to sell at that price, so he probably won't understand. But when we engage on a basis, and we don't do it only for one deal. We say, you keep giving us deals. You know,
Yeah.
one unit sold, then the second unit, then the third unit, and therefore it has to be very long term partnership where it has to become win-win. For both the parties.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
awesome.
So
And I think what I'm also liking is, sorry, Anshri, quick note. So what I'm also liking is, Manish, that you are sort of segregating the entire market into the good players and the rest of the players. So I think people who will be willing to come here and be open to scrutiny will also, in a way, be the good guys, right? Because they're open to, they have nothing to hide, and they're like, oh, you know what, all the payments are legit, you come here, you do this. So I, that's what also I'm liking a lot more than, the access that you're giving to investors. There's also this class of developers which is sort of floating to the top, and
Yeah.
here are the here are the good guys.
Yeah, because we
and
can't
um,
invest
and yeah.
money, and that's a big challenge for us also, because see, look at it this way. Sometimes when you're looking at, especially happens in pre-leased assets, when you have a pre-leased asset which has an amazing tenant, all
Yeah.
constructed very well set, and with a good lock-in period and things like that. So all good, tick marks with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Likelihood of you getting that deal will be very low, because the seller
Mm.
knows that he can sell in the market in any bad market also. You know, so such deals will go, and that's when, in fact, with person I was talking to, and he was telling me that the same industrial shed one example, where he was telling us that the way currently his market works, the moment he has an agreement from potential, and we begin the build to suit, construction, that is the moment will buy us, and the standard rate, 8% or something, that which it will be sold. So it's a very well oiled mechanism, and in all that, when I was looking at sitting in that room cringing, I really did not understand how do I bring it to my customers,
Yeah.
because uh, if these are lapped up by funds, my customers never will have access to something like this.
Yeah.
So it is
This
property,
retail
property everywhere. Yes,
mismatch.
property everywhere. But good ones are getting lapped up any day. You know,
and that is what
and
I
I had
guess most of us are looking for, like a good platform, where a reliable platform where we can just go and enter and find out all the property, and that is already well verified beforehand. And that is probably that kind of platform, a central platform is missing, where we can, people like us who are not so aware of most of the legal terms, probably can just
Mm.
go blindly and then select the properties, choose the co-ownership partners or the buyers, and then finalize on a property. So that central system, if developed like Manish, something what you're doing, that would be great, especially in India.
so I have a customer or not? So,
Manish, you won a customer as well on the show. So I'm
yeah,
I'm
so
glad everybody finds some value on this show every week. So I'm glad.
as an entrepreneur,
So
all customers are God's gift. So that is what we keep looking for.
absolutely. In fact, you can find customers. You can also find partners. Just like Anushri could go back home and tell few of her friends as well. So moving on, I think to the non-trusting parties in the whole transaction. That is where I see, there are data silos. That is where I see there is a loss of trust at some times, where let's say people sold something, but something else was delivered, or things were changed on the fly. So do you think that that kind of stuff also happens, and how frequently does it happen? And is there a way today it can be monitored? For example, I'm sold X property, the same industrial shed that you spoke about, with certain specifications, even the commitment for a rent, and that sort of changes because co-owners who may be living wherever, they may be sold a prospect, this whole deal with certain parameters. And what happens when those parameters change? How do they come to know?
So you have decided to corner me again and again, right? So,
Oh no, not cornering you,
so
Manish. Just
no,
trying
no.
to
So
find use cases for baseline.
that was on a lighter note, but
Yeah,
let me say that we could we can only do so much as a platform. We
yeah,
inherited a market,
yeah, yeah,
a real estate as it is. What we are doing is we are being as careful as I personally would be. Let's
yeah,
put it
yeah,
this way,
yeah.
probably more than
No, Manish,
So
I
there are
think my question was more towards the general market, how it is. I was not trying to point things to
no, no.
real
I'll
estate
answer
because
that. I'll answer that.
yeah, yeah,
The first is that we are ourselves being very careful on what we bring to the table.
yeah,
Disclaimer, Samrat. So what I'm trying to say
yeah,
here is, despite that, some of the best firms may default.
yeah.
Despite that, some of the best intentions may change. Because
Mm,
of external circumstances or whatever. Uh, are we in a position to overall defend the case of customers? Yes, we can do that better than that. Will some of our properties go into trouble? Do anticipate they will, just like in the stock companies do. So some of the
mm,
properties, but that's why we ask investors to diversify. But having said that, will together have a better opportunity through the firm to negotiate or wiggle out of that. I think that is where our test will come in, and that is where we would like to do as good as we can in representing the interest of our investors.
yeah,
That is, however, the bigger disclaimer is this is a industry which is not structured. This is the industry where we are inheriting certain problems. At the
yeah.
same time, the potential of fractional ownership, the potential of mass public, essentially what we told many of our developers is that
Mm,
RealX allows you access to as many users as they are Demat account holders. Now think about
mm,
the market.
mm,
So what you are seeing is, will a developer or will somebody who is selling side want to
mm.
mess around with that? I don't think so.
True that, true that. They will be messing with
So
the
the
largest
why
set
is
of
the public
organized
participation?
investors.
Correct. The
Yeah,
public, you bring in organized guys, you bring brand conscious guys, you bring in guys who have a better reputation anyway before you, and you give them cheaper access to capital. You become a valuable partner, and you give them a debt public perception. So if the public
yeah,
perception goes down, they are not in their future projects financed.
yeah.
So I
True,
think that's a
true.
good enough deterrent. So it works on Uber, it works on Ola. So why can't on these markets?
Oh yeah, I wish. Yeah, I wish it was. I hope that it does not, well, but I hope that it does translate that way.
But yeah,
So what I
I
was
didn't
trying to get
complete the
at,
question. I
yeah,
think Samrat, the other part is we didn't build RealX. We had the idea way long back. We did not
yeah,
begin building RealX until there was RERA.
yeah,
So until there was in the real estate market, we did not initiate work on this. Uh, for post construction projects, there is no development risk anyway. So
mm,
there also doesn't apply. It's only a tenancy risk, which is okay. The asset is safe. Pre construction, all our customers get the same benefit of RERA as if you would have bought in full. So
mm. Okay,
that way you can you get the same protection nonetheless. That still doesn't mean that the guy may not do that. That's a different issue also. But you have the
yeah,
regulatory protection that is there if you would have bought in full available to anybody who wants.
yeah, yeah. Okay. No, I mean, yeah, there are too many moving parts, and I think Rera um, would have helped you structure a lot of things. So talking about, and we were talking about non-processing parties and silos of data. So what baseline does is it gives you uh, ways to synchronize multiple systems utilizing public cloud infrastructure or public blockchains and be in a constant state of synchronization. So that's what, and also have multi-party, secure multi-party workflows. So I was just looking for use cases. Where do you think secure multi-party workflows and a secure way of synchronizing systems without actually exchanging any data on the blockchain? How do you think can fit into this model, or into real estate deals in general?
Yeah, it's something that needs some thought, and it's again a googly one.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, no, no, no.
whatever
So
I
I
s-
think I
whatever
think I
I
think
say,
what we
maybe.
can do is no, Manish. I think I don't want to stump you on this, but what is important is to highlight what are the transactions
Okay, so
where.
I'll tell you two legs of
Yeah.
transactions. So one is real estate ownership and the registry, where
Hmm.
there's a government, as well. And we have had discussions with at least five state governments,
I see.
all progressive, and so one of them even looked at us and told us, "Why don't you us get our registry systems on blockchain?" Which was
Yeah,
again as a big googly for us, so and we are a startup which is focused on a different line, and we are not government project implementers, etc. So
yeah.
and I did upset them by not pursuing, but they were keen to do a pilot.
Okay,
Now,
okay.
places where if you have more partners, where we can play our part, we can even help with inputs. But as a startup, I can't stretch to the level where I can be a government, project implementer. That is not my mandate, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's one part where governments are open, and we have seen governments open to many such technology implementations. Recently, in fact, I submitted one of the papers on suggestions for blockchain, developing the blockchain framework in India, by Ministry of Electronics. So,
Hmm.
and in the suggestions there, we said you should allow system to prosper, become a partner there first,
Yeah,
and make experiment, maybe how they go,
yeah,
and then you learn. So so governments are open. We are also open. It's just that they do their job, we do our job. If there are more players filling the gap, I think it will become a straight line. That is one simple answer that I can give. On the other hand side, now coming to my controlled, control is a bad word in blockchain parlance, but my controlled environment in the sense that in my focused environment of fractional ownership. So,
hmm.
as I said, we record the co-ownerships on blockchain, and one of the advantages that we look forward to is as banks start adopting blockchain more. I mean, we are selling real estate, right? So there has to be a case. You didn't ask me that question, but one of the very frequently asked questions is, will you enable debt on your platform while buying
Yeah.
property? Because property generally bought. So if you
Interesting.
make 5 lakhs, then can as the minimum investment be that I only invest one, the bank invested the rest four. That
Yeah,
can be amazing,
yeah,
so it can be a real orbit of growth for us. But that will need the banks to really start not talking about blockchain, implementing blockchain.
yeah,
And
yeah.
technologically speaking, in the centralized finance universe, there's something like
Hmm.
that in the centralized database. So there is not much of a leap that they need to take. Essentially, they need to have a node, and they need to have a link, on that node. That's it. So they
Yeah,
do that in their systems. They can very well do that in these systems. It will still need some process changes, etc. But these are areas where we can start talking. Why
yeah,
would a bank not? Because they also have the challenges of, let's say, if they talk about Ethereum. So the gas prices keep fluctuating, and that leads to a business risk of what
yeah,
area you are entering to and explode. You don't know your transaction cost. No enterprise would want to go into an area where they don't know the transaction cost, unless it is a
hmm.
crypto. So
Hmm.
if you're not a crypto exchange, you don't go into variables where your yields are tampered, you don't know what your cost will be, and you don't know what your net interest margin will be, and things like that. So those are challenges. If we can work together towards bringing each party to their next dot,
Hmm.
and so each party extending to the next dot, I think we have straight lines emerging.
Hmm. Very interesting thought. Very interesting thought. And I think that is where I see, at a very high level, that is where I see you could potentially use baseline to convey the state of the systems, amongst the various actors, so that they know each time, there is a change in the state, the records can be baseline, and that ways all parties can be informed, even without floating around data on the blockchain or exchanging it over networks, etc. So I think that is the reason I wanted to discuss this with you. And we can actually deep dive more when we as thoughts evolve, as your platform also takes off. With that, let me open up
Happy to do that.
yeah, the floor to Mark and Anushri. Guys, you have any comments, questions for Manish? This has been an exhilarating show today. I mean, I didn't even realize where 45 minutes went.
Mark, all
Thanks,
That
Manish.
yours.
is
Thanks so much.
You can take the turn now. So,
That's how you know it's successful. I mean, when you sit there and you listen to everything over there, and it just kind of draws you in, and
Yeah.
you become unaware of the passage of time.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess so. Yes.
So I'm missing the chat today. I don't know, for some reason the chat didn't load up on the platform, but I'm sure some of our viewers today as well as in future will take away great value from today's discussions. Thank you so much, Manish, for lighting up the environment and with with so much information. And we truly wish that RealX goes to unicorn state very soon. All our good wishes for that.
Thank you very
And
much.
thanks for your time, Manish, for making it to today's show. With that, I would like to sign off for today. People watching us, do tune into baseline-protocol.org. Join us in the conversations on various platforms. And if you're an eligible voter, do vote before the next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Anushri, and I'll